My name is Jordan Frith, and I'm an assistant professor at the University of North Texas. So I first became involved with mobilities research in late 2008, the beginning of 2009. I started my PhD program at North Carolina State University, the Communication, Rhetoric, and Digital Media program, in fall 2008. And Adriana de Souza Silva taught my first class as a PhD student, and she was fantastic. And she ended up liking me, I guess. So she asked me if I wanted to work on a paper with her. And so I ended up doing that, and that was my introduction to mobilities research. To me, mobilities is kind of representative of the in-between. So the time we spend in between, basically, the places that we consider home or work or whatever. And I mean, it's about movement, but that's cliched. So movement, like in the sense that the places we experience, they're constructed by movement. So not just movement of people, but movement of capital, movement of digital information, and everything like that. So mobilities, to me, kind of represents dynamism, because movement is basically something that changes. So as different things move through a place, they kind of construct the place. So mobilities, to me, is basically a way of understanding social life as constituted of the places in between, I guess. I research, going back to talking about Adriana, I ended up working with Adriana a lot on location-aware mobile technologies. So my research owes a ton to her. She's the best ever. And so I study location-based social networks. And those are basically applications people use to share their location with friends, to contribute information about places and things like that. And I use mobilities as a way of understanding the dynamic nature of place. So places are basically constructed of flows, which is contrary to some traditional understandings of place that saw place as fixed, as kind of something in this container, even though the container was very rarely defined. But I use mobilities as a way to look at the information that people use location-aware mobile devices to contribute to a place. So because mobilities is this dynamic concept, it lets me view, say, the way people write about a place in an application like Foursquare or Yelp or located media art projects like Urban Tapestries as kind of constructing that place. So the different types of information people contribute can alter those experience of places. So if I write something when I check in to a location on Foursquare and then someone else checks in and that becomes the first thing they read about that place, then it shows place as dynamic, as something that is constructed by the information that we contribute to the place, by the way that people move through places, and everything like that. So it's a really key concept in my research, even if I don't necessarily reference it in every paper I write, but it does kind of move away from the static and let me understand place as something that location-aware technologies have a role in constructing. I think that mobile technologies definitely is a key part of the research paradigm for mobilities. And I love that this conference is very interdisciplinary, so I can come and hear perspectives on mobilities from transportation researchers, sociologists, philosophers, and just hearing these ideas shared give me new ways of understanding like mobile media and social media, which are the two areas that I study. Privacy is a big deal with location-based social networks, obviously. People have a visceral reaction when you talk about them, and I've never once presented on the topic without somebody asking me about privacy, even if that had nothing to do with what I was talking about. And so I'm going to be reporting on research I did with Foursquare users and discussing the different privacy practices they reported engaging in as a way to kind of exert some control over the location information they shared. And I'm going to link that to design, because practices are important, but so is design, because practices are linked to design. Like, design is what enables many practices. And I'm going to tie that to the idea of seamful computing and ubiquitous computing to kind of argue that rather than designing these computing environments, mobile computing environments that people move through, that they interact with seamlessly, where the technology disappears into the background, as far as privacy is concerned, it might make sense to design, I guess, clunkier systems that people actually have to interact with so that they are aware that they're interacting with computers. that are recording their movements and other things like that.